few to 4 to 5 classes, we have discussed about the various case studies. So some of the few topics which has been left to the coverage of the syllabus, which is related to MySQL, PHP and MySQL. So this is one of the important topics that which is connected to the database. It's called as other MySQL functions. So what are the different types of MySQL functions we can do with the help of PHP? So these are some of the complex or intricate MySQL functions. So you can perform some little bit of more functionality with the help of this functions which is related to the database. So we'll be discussing one by one what does it mean and what is the use of it and where you can apply this in the real-time projects here. So what is MySQL functions? So if you have any PHP functions where you can just connect with the database and do, that is called as MySQL function. For example, one of the functions is called as MySQL connect, which is used to establish a connection with the database. And another function is MySQL query, which is used to execute the query inside the database. So these are all called as MySQL functions where you can have a connectivity between the front end and the back end and you can do it. Now, what are the other functions which are much prominent, which plays a pivotal role in developing B2B and B2C applications? Now, what does it mean? Now, the first function is called as affected row. So whenever you write a query, any sort of query, you might be writing a select query or you might be writing an insert query. Definitely, one or two records will get affected inside the database. For example, I want to retrieve a student record whose register number is 1. So I will be retrieving one record. So only one student will be having the register number called as 1. So how many record is getting affected? One record is getting affected when I use a query like that. I want to change the marks of the student whoever have scored less than 35 marks. Okay. So what I'm doing, I want to update a query, update the marks who have scored less than 35. So more than 4 or 5 students will be scoring less than 35. In that case, all the 5 records will be updated. In that case, affected records is 5, so on and so forth. So based on the query, the number of records will get affected. So what is meant by a record here? So the record is nothing but the row inside a table is called as record. Okay. Now I will practically demonstrate that what is meant by affected rows here. So I have used 2 queries over here. Select star from person. So person is called as a table. So I will be retrieving all the queries, all the records from the first query. So I will be displaying that how many rows is getting affected. And the next one, I write a delete query. Choose I want to delete all the records whose age is more than 32. So here also you will have a set of records will get affected here. Now, I will just practically demonstrate that so that you will have an understanding about this. I will just make localhost. I will take any one query over here, one database here. So, okay. Now, I think you are batch 1, isn't it? In batch 1, I have a table called a student marks. So you can see here there are 3 records in this table. So 3 records in this table. Now I want to find the number of affected rows in this table. Now listen carefully. So how to write this? So first I establish a connection. So connection equal to MySQL caps here. Okay. So $connection MySQL underscore connect. So I use procedural method here, localhost root here. So the database which I want to connect is called as batch 1. So batch 1 is the database which I want to connect. So I don't want to check whether the connection is established here or not. So directly we will just proceed to the core of the functionality. Now I want to write a query. You know that I want to display all the records in this table. So select the star from and see what is the table name. The table name is called as student marks. So student marks. Now, when I run this query, actually, how many records will get displayed? You will get 3 records. Actually, I want to display all the records inside. There are 3 records in this table. Select star from student marks. Okay. So in that case, I want to ensure that how many records is getting affected here. Listen carefully. Now, I will just run this. To run this, you know that you establish a connection. You use MySQL underscore query, and the first parameter is connection, the next parameter is query here. Okay, now I want to find how many rows is getting affected. So echo, so I just display like this, echo is equal to affected rows. That means the number of rows is getting displayed is called as affected rows. So the function here is affected underscore rows here, and then the connection variable CON. Okay, so this actually will be displaying me so MySQL affected rows. Okay, so function is MySQL underscore affected rows. So I use a procedural oriented method. So I'm going to display 3 records over here. Okay, I want to count how many records are getting affected by this corresponding query. Now when I run this, listen here, when I run this, you are getting the query that is the 3 rows are getting affected. That means actually there are only 3 rows inside my table. Okay, now listen here. So you have to understand what is the nature of this. Now you see here there is a table called as attendance in batch 1. Okay, now I want to display the attendance of the students whose department is belonging to IT here. You can see here there are 4 records here, but department of IT you can have only 2 records in this. Now see here, select star from attendance where department is equal to IP. Okay, so when I run this, actually there are only 2 records which is related to IT. So 2 records will get displayed here. But see here how many affected rows are here. So only 2 rows you will be getting. Now see here, the affected rows are 2. So based on the query, the number of affected rows will be getting varied. Okay, so when you are doing some type of complicated real-time project, you will be there is a need to fetch how many return rows are there. So using this functionality, you can implement and get that rows and process it. So that is the nature of this functionality called as MySQL affected rows. How many rows are getting affected based on the table here, based on the query. Now, this is called as how to use an affected rows. So the next one is called as auto commit. So before I go into this auto commit, you have to understand what is the nature of this auto commit, why you have to use this. Okay, so whatever the database you use, whether you use MySQL or Oracle, whatever is the database, whenever you try to insert any data, whenever you try to delete any data, that means whenever you try to manipulate any sort of data inside the database, by default, it will auto commit by itself. So there is not any need for the user to commit the transactions. Automatically it commits by itself. Okay, but the problem is whenever you try to database auto commits by itself, it at least take 3 seconds to 5 seconds for commit purpose. System takes by itself 3 to 5 seconds it takes for every query. For example, I want to push 500 records of the students inside the table. Okay. So when I insert 1 record, it takes 3 seconds. When I insert 500 records, how many seconds it will take? So 500 into 3, it will take altogether 1500 seconds. 1500 seconds, of course, as far as computer is concerned, it's a huge number. Okay, so what will happen? Server will time out and you will get an error message because server will not wait for a huge amount of time. Automatically it will time out and you will get an error message. Then how come you can insert huge amount of data inside the database? Okay, every time if you insert a data, then automatically it auto commits by itself. Okay, so what to do in this case? Listen here, this is a practical problem. One of the software where our institution has procured has faced this problem where I have deconstructed it and I have said this is the problem. Okay, understand this. Automatically, when it's actually auto commits by itself, it takes 3 to 5 seconds of time. So for 500 queries, how many times it will take 1500 seconds? So automatically it will the server will be crashed, or server will be down, and you will get a message that server not found or 404 error, something like that. So what you have to do, so whether you may not be able to push all the records inside. Okay, so how to solve it? So what you have to do is, so first deactivate auto commit. First deactivate auto commit. So MySQL underscore auto commit deactivates it. Okay, so self by default it auto commits is commit by itself. Now you deactivate auto commit, insert 500 queries. Okay, use insert 500 queries 500 times, and after that you commit only one time. Okay, commit will take only 3 seconds of time. Okay, even if you insert 500 queries inside, it will take only 3 seconds of time, so that all these records can be pushed and saved inside the database with only 3 seconds of time. So that is the nature of this MySQL auto commit. So you can see here, first what I'm doing, I'm just auto committing, I'm making that as false, and finally I am committing that. Okay, what is meant by commit? You have learned database, isn't it? What is the use of commit? What is the use of rollback? What is the use of commit and what is the use of rollback? Anyone?
So commit means if you enter some values in database.
Okay.
Suppose we not commit the data, means it cannot add it to the database. So.
Okay, I think Mohandan, you are partially correct. Okay, okay, then.
But rollback, I didn't know, sir.
Okay, see, for example, what I have done is, remember, I want to add 3 records inside my database. So first 2 records I have added correctly, and third record I have added wrongly. Okay, I have inserted third record also. So third record is a wrong record. So what should I do? I have to delete that third record. So what I'm going to do is I have to go to the previous set of transaction. So in that case, I have to erase all these 3 records. I have to go to the previous step. In that case, I have to use rollback. Okay, so that means you have written a page, and if the page is wrong, what you have to do? You will strike off the page and once again rewrite that page. That is called as rollback. Okay, so you'll go to the previous state. It is called as rollback. But once if you use commit, okay, you cannot go to the previous state. It is permanently done. Okay, just like writing your answer scripts and handing over to the examiner, and finally it will be sealed. And after that, you are coming out of the examination and saying that I have written something wrong. So it cannot be traced back. You cannot correct that. So that is the nature of commit over here. Okay, once committed, you cannot roll back. That's commit means saving permanently inside the database. Okay, so auto commit actually deactivates automatic commitment, and you can just commit at the end of all the transaction. So this is for saving the time. Okay, so to avoid time consuming process, you can use this MySQL auto commit here. You can deactivate it. So the third one is how to use change user here. So for what is the database connectivity, you will be using only one user here. The username is called as root user. But how will you change the user here? So you can change the user by using MySQL change user. You can change the owner of the database. Okay. Now first I will tell you how to create a user for a database. Okay. How to create a user for a database. Now I have batch 1. In batch 1, I create new. So now I think, okay, you have a table, isn't it? You have a table called a student marks. You go to privileges. I have, see, there are users here. So one username is red, other user is called as root user. But I want to create a user called as SKCET user for this student called as marks over here. Okay, student marks, I have to create another user. Now what I'm going to do, just click this table, student marks, where I just go to privileges. In privileges, you can see there's an option called as add user account. Okay, now just click this add user account. Now give the username. So username, let us assume that it is SKCET, and where the user's name I have to give. So SKCET already exists, or otherwise I will just write PSG. So PSG is the username, and localhost is the name of the system where I have, and I give the password as PSG and retype the password as PSG. Okay, so there is a button called as generate, but it automatically generates a password here. Please avoid that. And now you just click go here. Okay, now see here, I have a username. I click this student marks here. Now go to privileges. You can see a third username here. So I have a username called as PSG, whose password is PSG, and it is assigned to a table called as student marks. That means this table can be accessed only by these three users. Okay, now I want to change the user for this. Listen here. So how to change the user? So initially, this I will give select star attendance. So I want to change the user for this. Okay, so to change the user, just give $connection equal to MySQL change underscore user. Okay, so the first option is the connection itself. Give the connection. $connection. Okay. So give connection. The second is the username. So what is the username? The username is called as PSG. And the third name is the password here. Password is also PSG. Okay. And the fourth one is called as the database where you are assigning the data. Okay. So the database name is batch1 itself. So you give batch1. That's it. Okay. That means this instruction will change the user. Okay, from root user to PSG user. Okay, so if you use other usernames, then obviously it will result in an error message. So the best way of changing it is you can change the username dynamically. First, you can assign a database to some other user, and later you can assign it to this particular user over here. Okay. So that's about how to change MySQL change user. Okay, dynamically you can change the username over here. You can see here it will perfectly run, so there won't be any errors over here. So automatically it runs. Now the user has been changed to PSG user. So dynamically you can change the user using this command called as MySQL change user. Now the next one is, I have already explained how to create a user. So open PHP MyAdmin, go to the databases, go to privileges, and then you can create username and password over here. Okay. Now the major important thing is, what is the character set? When you take up C programming, you are using ASCII code. When you take up Java, it is using Unicode system. And when you take up MySQL or PHP, okay, when you take up PHP or MySQL, so what is the character code system which is using? Now, to the character code system we are using for MySQL is called as Latin code. So I want to get what is the code which is used to build up this database. It's called as Latin code. Now, see here. So I want to find the code here. Listen carefully. So character code here. So MySQL. So character underscore set underscore name. Set underscore name. Now see here, this set underscore name will be having only one parameter called as connection parameter. So you pass this parameter here. So $CON. Okay. Now, if I print this code, you will be getting the code called as Latin code here. So this is used to find to which code this MySQL is getting established or it is getting built off. Now you can see here the code name is called as Latin 1. Okay, so for C it is your ASCII. For Java it is Unicode. When it comes for MySQL, the code is actually Latin code. So these are all some databases which is concerned with metadata. So data about data is called as metadata here. So all this information you can fetch it from this set of functions here. These things you know that whenever you establish a MySQL connection, open connection, you can close it with the help of MySQL close here. Okay. So what will happen if I don't close? Imagine a server can have multiple connections from the client. So if you open up a connection, all these connections will be occupying a certain amount of memory. But if you don't close, what will happen? All this connection will be continuously consuming memory, and finally, at a point of time, the server will be taking huge burden of workload. So the server, there's a possibility of server is getting crashed. So best practice is whenever you try to open a connection, you always close the connection if you are not going to use that connection further. So at the end of the script, you have to close the connection. So how to close the connection? It's very simple. So here, even I have not closed the connection. So what you have to do? So the connection object is created here. So to close the connection, simply I have to type MySQL underscore close, and which object I have to close? I have to close the object called as $connection over here. So use $connection. That's it. So this actually will close the connection inside the file over here. That's it. Now I will run this. So it won't give me any error. Now, actually, connection establishes, opens it, and finally it has closed it at the end. Okay. So this is the nature of how to use a close function inside a MySQL programming. So the next is commit transaction, which I have already explained. So what is meant by commit? So if the database you are inserting it, first what you have to do, you have to auto commit it. Okay, avoid auto commit it by making the instruction as false. And finally, you have to commit the transaction. Okay, now listen here. I can execute more than one instructions at a time. See here. I am not inserting anything, so I am not modifying anything. Let us assume that I want to insert the data inside batch 1. I will take up the query. So in student marks, you can see here, one is class name, another is student name, and third is marks here. Okay, so these are the three data which I have to insert. Now I am going to insert 2 more records here inside the same table. And I deactivate auto commit, and finally I will commit it. Listen carefully. So first I write a query, insert into the table name is student marks, and the first name is called as class name, field name is class name, and see here, second is student name, and third one is marks. Student name and marks here. So that's a field name. And you insert the values here. So first one is IT, and our name is Venkat, and marks is 91. Now I write this as query. Okay, this is query and query 1. Now I have another query also. I will write it. Query 2, insert into student marks. I change the value as CST. Binoy, and marks is 88. Okay. Now I want to run this query. So first one I use query 1, and second one I use as MySQL underscore query. So connection query 2. So I want to execute 2 queries consecutively. So I execute this query. So for what you have to do is by default automatically it commits by itself. To avoid that, what I'm doing is I use MySQL underscore auto commit. Okay, auto commit. First use the connection parameter. By default, it is true. So what you have to do is you have to make it as false here. Okay, so this actually deactivates auto commit here. So finally, what you are going to do is you have to going to commit this transaction. So how to commit this transaction after executing it? So use MySQL underscore commit, and you just pass the connection object here, connection. MySQL underscore connect here. Okay, so that's it. Now you can see here when I run this, I'm inserting 2 queries at a time inside the table. Okay, line number 5, unexpected. Okay, so I have missed this double quotes here. Okay, so when I run this, okay, query 2, MySQL query, empty query, number 7, define variable query 2. Okay, query 1 and query 2. Okay, that's it. So now see here, I am not printing anything, but to verify the output, you have to go inside the table and verify. So this is the table which I have inserted. Now see here, the first time, second query you have got an error, but first time the first query has been inserted, and second time we have inserted both queries because second query has resulted in an error second time. Okay, so that is the reason now you are able to push all the records inside it at a time. Only one time commit transaction has been done. So what you have to do is, if you want to insert multiple queries, make this auto commit as false. And finally, after inserting all the data, finally commit only one time. If you are not doing this, commit will happen 2 times for both queries. If you are using 10 queries, 10 times commit will take. Okay, so 10 into 3 seconds, actually it will take 30 seconds. Nearly half of the minute for inserting 10 queries inside the table. Okay, that's a time consuming process. To avoid that, you have to do like this. Okay, now the next one is the connect error, connect underscore error. Now this will tell me what kind of error system is getting while you try, you just give a wrong connection string inside the table. Listen carefully. So what you have to do is you just verify whether there is an error here or not. If you are getting an error, just try to throw an error over here. Listen carefully. Now localhost root, and imagine I try to connect a database, a username called as tree. There is not any username called as tree and password called as tree here. Okay, now I want to try to connect with the database called as batch1 over here. So batch1 does not have any user called as tree over here. Now to verify it, I use MySQL underscore connect underscore error number. So it will throw me an error number whenever the connection is not getting established. So I want to see what is the error here. So connection error. So this is the error, but I don't know for what reasons this error has occurred. To know that, I have to use MySQL underscore connect underscore error here. Okay, this will tell me for what reasons this error has occurred over here. Okay, so I'll run this. Now you can see here. So this is whatever you are receiving in orange color icon, that is actually a server error. Server is throwing this error, but the error what you have generated is here, access denied for user tree, because there is not any user called as tree to the corresponding database called as batch1. It is not authorized to do that. Okay, so you are getting an error message. So this is where you can actually try to print the error over here. Okay. Now I'll go to the next one. This is an important function called as data seek. So imagine there are 5 to 10 records inside a system, but I don't want all the records. I want to exactly retrieve the 7th record for my table here. So in that case, what you have to do? Okay, you don't know what is the condition based on that. You have to randomly pick up the 7th record from the top. So how to do that? So that can be done with the help of this function called as data seek here. So data seek will actually use to pull the record from the corresponding record from the table. Now listen here. So how to do that? How to pull a record from a table over here? So I will show you here. So now I have a table called as rank list is there. Okay. So rank list, I want to get the third record. Third record, the record name is Aravind and the table name is rank list here. So there are 4 records. I want to fetch only the third record over here. So if I want to get the third record, so first record always starts from 0. Okay, so 0, 1 and 2. That means while specifying it, I have to specify only 2 over here. Okay, if I want to get the 4th record, then I have to give 3 over here. Now, if I want to receive the record of Ram Kumar, then I have to give 3. Now, I want to receive Aravind means I have to give 2 here. Now, see here, what is the table name? The table name is called as rank list, which belongs to batch 1. Now, listen carefully. So, how to do this? You can fetch the results based on the ideas given over here. Okay. Now, I don't want these connections. I write a query. So select star from rank list. So this query will be retrieving all the data from this. Okay, but I don't want to retrieve everything. So what I'm doing is I'm just using res is equal to MySQL underscore query, and you establish a connection here, use a connection object, and then use query here. Okay, so this statement will be retrieving all the queries from the table. There are 4 query records in this table, but I don't want all the 4 records. So what should I do? I have to get the third record from the table. Okay, you can see here, I want to get the record of Aravind, which is actually a third record here. Okay, third record means number wise you are starting from 0. That means I want to fetch the second record, Aravind here. So how to do that? Listen carefully. To get the corresponding record, you have to use the function called as data seek here. Okay, and where is the result? It is stored in a result over here. Okay, now listen carefully. Okay, now where is the result actually? It is stored in res. Now I use MySQL underscore data underscore seek. Okay, and where is the result? It is in $res, $res. Okay, and I want to retrieve the third record. Third record means I have to specify the number as 2 here. And that's it. Okay, now finally you have to get that record here. So now the current marker is placed in the third record here. To fetch the record, I use something like row, MySQL underscore fetch underscore row here, and where is the result? It is stored in res. It's the result. Okay, now to display it, very simple. What you can do is, where is the result now? The result is in row here. So $row of 0 will be displaying me the first column, and $row of 1 will be getting me the second column, and $row of 3 will be getting me the third column, row of 2. Okay, now see here, because row of 0 will be mentioning the name of the student. You can see here. Okay, I will fetch that result and display the result now. So you have to get the result of Aravind here. Okay, MySQL underscore query express one parameter to be Boolean. Okay, so a small error here. Okay, so the problem here is I have not changed that username here. So root is the official username, password is nothing here. So we'll run this now. So I can see here I am able to get Aravind the data here. So out of 4 records, I am able to fetch only the 3rd record over here. Okay, now I will give you a query. Now tell me what should I do, what change I have to make over here. Imagine. So I have a table called as okay, 4th IT. Okay, attendance, isn't it? In attendance, I want to retrieve the 4th record here. So that means the record of Preeti I have to retrieve. So what change I have to make over here in this query to retrieve the 4th record? What should I do here? What change I have to make over here to retrieve the 4th record here?
Sir, select star from attendance.
Select star from attendance. Okay. Okay, select star from attendance.
Instead of 2, we want to give 3, sir. In that
Instead of
MySQL.
2, you have to be 3 here. Okay, 3. Okay. Is it right to whether these parameters are correct, Mayappan? See here, what is the change I have to make over here? You are partially correct. Okay. Almost you are partially correct. Now listen here. The table is having how many columns here? It is having 5 columns, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
I want all the columns here. I want all the columns. So what is the change I have to make over here?
We want to add 3 and 4, sir. Another 2 rows.
Yes, exactly. So I have to add $row of 3 dot space row of 4. Okay. Mayappan, suppose if I change this row as R, is it possible?
No, sir, we want to change that $R of 0, $R of 1 like that, sir.
Yes, exactly. So this has to be changed as R of 0, R of 1, R of 2, R of 3, and finally R of 4. Okay, so the number of columns should match with the number of retrieving data over here. Okay, so I should get the records of Preeti here. Now, sit. So RES select attendance spelling is wrong. Okay. So you can see here, I'm getting 5 columns over here. So using data seek, what you can do is you can just move your marker to your appropriate record, and from that you can retrieve the set of columns from it. Okay. So this is an important function in database to span to the limited number of records here. Yes, Mohan, tell me.
So in the PPT, they will use the format specifiers, sir. Suppose we are not used the format specifiers in PHP.
Okay.
So they use the printf statement, sir.
Okay, actually printf statement is a deprecated version of PHP which has been used in the previous versions of PHP. Now they are not using it, but this is a deprecated version. Even though if you are using that, since this printf belongs to C function, you have to use a format specifier over here. If you are not using it, it will throw you an error message. So the best way of doing it is you use echo or print statement to do that. That's all. Just concatenate with that. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a deprecated version. It is not used now. Yeah. Clear, Mohan?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
Okay. So the next one is called as a fetch all statement. That means instead of getting all the records, you can just get all the records in the form of array, and you can try to display that. Okay. So this is called as fetch all function. So fetch all function is used to get all the records, and you can display all the records inside an array like this. Okay. So how to use this? Listen carefully. Now you all know that whenever I use MySQL underscore query, and if I execute the query, the final result will be stored in the result variable over there. Okay. Now I want to display the result in the form of array here. Okay, so MySQL fetch underscore all will be displaying all the things in an array here. So on MySQL, associate is called as an indicator over here. You can see the second parameter which is mentioned in caps. This is called as a header tag here. Okay, using that header tag, you can try to print all the records in MySQL here. Now listen carefully. So, okay. Now I don't want all these things. So I just eliminate this if statement. It's not needed for me at the moment of time. So I eliminate this one. Now you know that the final result will be stored in this variable res, isn't it? Okay. So I can use like this MySQL fetch underscore all. And then the first one is I have to give the result parameter. Res called as result parameter, and the second parameter is MySQL. So this is called as a header tag. Okay. Then there is also another thing called as MySQL number. Number means you can just identify the columns with the help of number, which I have done in the last section. R0, R1. R0 means it identifies the first column. R1 means second column, so on and so forth. Okay. MySQL so. Okay, now the final result will be stored in res here. Okay, now what you can do is you can just use print underscore r and you can display this res here. Okay, so it will be displaying in the form of array here. Now see here. So this actually will be storing the result in the form of array here. The current field count. Okay, there are 5 fields over here. Length, number of rows, 4 type. Okay, so you can display one by one and you can do it. Now how to display it one by one? Listen carefully. Now the final result will be stored in MySQL fetch array. Okay, so I can use this loop called as for each, and I can do like this res as r. Okay, record by record, it will be getting transferred to this variable here. And inside this, I can use echo r of the first character. So you can see here, what is the first column here? As far as attendance is concerned, what is the first column? The first column is actually called as register number. Second column name, hour, total hours, department. We can do like this. So I will just display register number, and then I can display put it like this r $r of, I can put the questions. The parameter is name here. So name only 2. You can have any number of columns here. It's very simple. Now if I want to display it, we can use like this. So okay, parse expected $r. Okay. Now you can see here, I am able to only display the register number here because I have coded like that. So register number name, then register number name. So all the records, register number and name are getting displayed. But what I have to do is I have to specify the field name over here. Okay, so today what we have discussed is you have seen what are the number of affected rows, how to travel to a particular record from first record to the mediator record, and how to get your record set and store it in an array and finally extract that data based on this MySQL fetch all. So these are the things we have discussed today. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. You can use MySQL fetch array here, anything you can use. But I will also demonstrate how to use MySQL fetch row over here. But when you are using MySQL fetch row, you can directly use the numbers instead of this rows over here, instead of those fields. Now I'll just run it. So I use like this fetch row over here, and it is given in res here. Okay, but the difference is now I just fetch inside R1. Okay, R1 you can just directly use zeros. 0, then use 1, use 2 over here. So to access the fourth column, use 3 and use 4 here. Okay, so in this way also you can try to access it. So you can adopt any method and you can try to access it. Now see here, I am getting the same answer. Okay, so you know how to retrieve the record using 3 methods: MySQL fetch array, MySQL fetch associativity, and MySQL fetch row. Okay, row by row you can just extract the data from this. Okay, so that's about the MySQL functions we are discussing. So major important functions I have covered so far. Now the next is the field count. So this is very important thing. Okay, so what is this field count? So you know that a table have a set of columns or set of fields. Okay, so to find the number of fields in the table, what you have to do, you have to just log in inside MySQL PHP admin, and then you will verify whether the columns exist there or not. But there is an alternative way. So how to fetch it dynamically? You might be keep on changing the tables. So every time it's not practically possible for me to log in inside the PHP myadmin and view that. For example, I want to find the counters, number of fields in table 1, and I want to find the number of fields in table 20. Okay, imagine there are 20 tables in my database. So every time I cannot log in inside and then I can get it back. So that is a serious drawback. So what you have to do is, there is a dynamically I can just view the number of fields inside it. How to take up the same table. Let's actually have 5 columns over here. 5 columns over here. Now, to know the number of fields, what I have to do here is I just use echo. So fields, put a fields here. So this for just for labeling, it's just a labeling process. I use MySQL field underscore count. Five here. So you can see here there are 5 columns in this table, so that I'm able to get 5 columns here. Okay, now listen carefully. I will just give you a small exercise here. Just tell me how to do that. You see here there is a table, isn't it? So in batch 1, there is not any table called as in this database. Okay. If that is the case, what will you do? I have to dynamically verify whether this table exists inside this database or not. So what should I do here? I want to create a PHP script and I want to verify whether a table exists or not. And simply I have to give the message that table exists or not exists. So how will you verify whether a table exists in a database or not?
Sir, select one from SKCET ID is a table name.
I think this is a connection here. I have established the connection. If the table exists over there, I have to give the message called as table exists. Otherwise, I should give a message that table does not exist. So what should I do here, ma?
Sir, $query is equal to.
Okay, $query equal to.
Select one
Select
from table name.
select one from the table name. So table name is SKCET. Obviously, this table does not exist. Okay, ma. Then what should I do, ma?
The dollar result is equal to
Dollar result equal to, okay.
MySQL
Okay, MySQL underscore query. So what should be the first parameter, ma?
dollar connection
Connection,
dollar
query. Query. Very good, very good. Excellent. Okay, good answer.
Sir,
Okay, ma. Now, okay,
dollar-
ma. What should I do? Yeah,
if dollar RES
RES is equal to,
is equal to 0.
okay, equal to 0 or true or false?
Sir, sir,
Yeah,
we can,
there is a
without
small,
using those two things,
yeah,
we
ma.
can check, sir. If
Okay.
dollar res within the bracket table exists, sir.
Okay. So actually, what you have to do is, if $res, if a table does not exist, means this res will be giving a value called as false. So you write like this, false. Okay, false means the table does not exist. So I just give table does not exist. Okay, else I will give echo table exists here. That's it. Okay, good answer, ma. Excellent, Narmada. Very good. Know how to count the number of fields inside a table. So the next one is, I will have to verify the field seek. For example, so you know that so far what we have done is, I will be retrieving, going to a corresponding record, and then I will be displaying. So there are 10 records, means I can move the cursor to a 7th record and I can display that. So we have already seen that. But now imagine there are 5 columns. There are 5 columns in my table. Okay, I want to get the 3rd column. That means I have to get the information of the 3rd column. Okay, so how to do that? 3rd column, I have to get the information over here. Okay, so so far what we have done with the help of records here. Now we will be doing with the help of fields here. Okay, listen carefully. So I will show you how to do that. Now we can see here, there is a table called as attendance. Okay, in this attendance, I want to move, get the details of this column called as total hours. Total hours is actually the 4th column. Okay, I want information about this 4th column. So what are the information? What is the data type of that column? What is the name of that column? And to which table it belongs? This column belongs over here. So all these details I want to get it. Dynamically, this data can be used for some other purposes or statistical purposes. So how to get it that? That's we will be discussing here. Okay, so I want to retrieve the information about the 4th column called as total hours. So to do that, so I just change here as attendance. The table name is attendance here. So select star from attendance. Okay. So first I run it. First I have to run the query. So now you know that this actually runs the query. So what is the next step I have to do here? The next step is I have to move to the appropriate field over here. Okay. So how to move to the appropriate field here? Now, as usual, use MySQL field underscore seek. Okay, so what is the previous version where we have to move the data? MySQL underscore data seek. This is called as MySQL underscore field seek. Okay, so I want to move to the 4th column. 4th column means where is the result? The result is storing in RES. 4th column means 1 minus than that. Then it has to be mentioned as 3 here. RES 3. MySQL field seek $res, 3 over here. Okay. Now what I have to do? I have to get the details of that column. Now cursor is on the 3rd column now. Now I have to retrieve that column and then I have to fetch it. Okay. Now listen here, to retrieve that column alone, you have to use this method called as MySQL field fetch field here. Okay, MySQL fetch field here. Okay, so I use like this dollar field is equal to MySQL underscore fetch underscore fild field. And where is the result actually? The result is actually stored in res here. So res, that's it. Okay, but using this field, now I can display the details of this field. For example, echo. Now I want to get the table name here. So what is the parameter here? I use field and use table. So this actually displays me the table where this field is associated. Okay. So next one is you can get any sort of information, but I actually am displaying only three sets of data here. Next is I want to display the maximum length. Echo dollar field max underscore length here. Okay. So actually this actually tells me what is the length of this field. So how much data, what is the capacity of this field. For example, if varchar is 10, you will be getting 9 over here because it starts with 0 to 9 here. Okay. And if integer is 11 here, then you will get the possibility 10 over here because 0 to 10 like that. And echo field, I should get the name of this field. Okay, you all know that it is total hours is the name of this field. Now see here, I will run this field, record. Now see here, I am getting that field name is actually attendance. So the space which is occupied by this is actually only 1 byte of space is occupied, and hours is actually total hours. Total hours is called as the name of the field here. So to give better clarity, I will use a break tag here so that it will come to the new line. Okay. So we'll run this. Now you can see that it is properly formatted. So all these three outputs will be trying to print the respective output which is intended for. Okay, for what purpose we have written this echo statements, it is able to print that. So the first one is called as the name of the table. The second one is the number of space occupied by the column. And third one is called as the name of the column or name of the field. So these are the information which we are getting about. Otherwise, this is called as metadata information. What is metadata? The data about data is called as metadata information. So using MySQL, you can also retrieve the metadata information. That's very, very important here. Okay. So, and as usual, MySQL underscore free result will actually eliminate all the temporary content which has been stored in the buffer. We can just try to eliminate that. Okay. Yes, Mohandan, tell me, Mohandan.
How to identify the data type of the field, sir?
How to identify?
The data type of the field, sir.
There is also another parameter called as data type over here. Only I have just given only 3 fields over here. Field information hyphen data type, that's all.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so many parameters are there, but I am actually displaying. So that is not, that is out of the scope of this lecture. So only we have to say the ultimate method of learning is we have to identify what is the use of this field seek. That's all. You have to move to the corresponding field and get back the information of that. Okay, so there are various parameters here. Data type is one of the parameter. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Munda, good. Okay. And the next one is a multi-query. So we'll be discussing this multi-query in the next class. Means this multi-query, you can write more than one query inside a single variable, and you can try to execute all that variable at a moment of time. So that is the advantage of using multi-query over here.